What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I'm BobbyFi back with Sheets. We tried to record this video, but then we got some important news. So it happens sometimes when you record these videos in the morning, but we want to get the video out for you guys as quickly as possible. Sheets, let's jump right into the slate. I know we talked a little bit about last night before. Sounds like you had some good, it was a good teaching session, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, everything was really, really good. And I think that they were really getting into the approach that I was trying to teach people. I think we're really onto something, at creating something on the one hand similar and yet on the other hand a little different with respect to, content. Hopefully we can continue to develop that because again, we are in partially responding to what people want and partially emphasizing what we think people need. And I think somewhere in the middle is that right balance that we're going to try to achieve. So keep the input coming, and we'll decide what part to listen to and what part to ignore.
I couldn't agree more. Sounds good. Jumping into tonight's slate, we've got a really Big Ten gamer. Is there like an overview that you would say that you really, let's just say, like, is there anybody you would call like a near must play? Because I can't find anybody that I feel like, oh, I need to have this guy in my rosters tonight.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's when you get into FanDuel, there are some values that kind of stick out a little bit more, I guess. But on Draftkings, I do think there are a lot of ways that you can go to build good GPP lineups. I think that there are some really, really good plays in matchups that aren't that great. And I think there are some really good matchups that you would think had a lot of good plays that just don't. So I think it is going to be a very, very interesting slate. And but the fact that it's a weekend might end up, you might get some late news, and that's always part of the beauty and part of the curse of this. You'll have Anthony Davis, who might be questionable. He might throw in a little bit of nugget for you. So it's going to be a war.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously any one of those things could change and make someone more of an automatic play. I mean, we lose Davis, I think LeBron obviously becomes a stronger play. All right, let's jump into the first game. We got Atlanta and Washington here. We already went through this once briefly, and I think it's weird because you have a game that looks like what you want to target at 237 total. Both teams play lightning quick. We know that. We still don't know about Bradley Beal, but starting on the Atlanta side, I think it's Trae Young at lower than usual ownership. And at second glance, now that I look at it, I think Kevin Huerter, however you want to pronounce it, is the other one in play for me for the most part. I don't really have a ton of interest in the other guys, and even Huerter I like better on FanDuel.
So for me, at second look, I think I like Trae Young more than I did first look. It is always going to depend on the ownership. And again, when I look now and I see 10, 11%, first, I just can't believe it. Yet, every single time I see Zach LaVine go off at 4%, and I can't believe that either. You know what I mean? So on the one hand, you would think that he'd be a much higher owned coming off an 80-point game in a perfect matchup at 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? But, nothing's easy. There's a lot of great plays on the slate. There's a lot of points to be had on the slate. So it's not as if he's some stone lock on a 2-game slate that you're going to have to play. So I could see why he wouldn't be that highly owned. But, at 10% in this matchup, and the way he projects, I'm just going to have him. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have to lock him in, but he's certainly going to be a real core play if, in fact, he's 10%. But again, when you're building these lineups, you got to just continue to follow this stuff, continue to follow where the group think is going and see how ownership kind of updates, and then put your own thoughts to might even be like higher or lower than it's even being projected. Like we go back to yesterday, just for example, like one of my big things about yesterday was that no matter how high Russell Westbrook was going to project to be owned on the sites, it was just going to be higher because of the narrative, because it's Westbrook, for a lot of reasons. But the point is that sometimes, I think that the ownership projections have a lot of variance to them. So you could actually, put your own spin as well on how owned you think people are going to be. What I used to do when I first started this, Bobby, is I would look at a slate, and the way I would look at it, I know that that's the way the public would look at it. So that would be my first look is, okay, this is what I would think. So I would think that's what other people would think. So I would try to fade myself. and eventually your brain would explode trying to do that. But I do think that getting set on these early ownership projections is a huge mistake. You have to continue to follow them throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, totally agree with you. All right, we're both into Trae Young at lower than usual ownership. I don't know where he'll fall in my priority rankings. We'll get into that at the end. I always like to say my favorite plays overall at the end. Again, Herter, I definitely think is in play. A guy who I actually love as a real life player, and I really just want to mention this. A lot of people talk a lot of smack about these guys who are 19, 20 years old, how terrible they are. And Dean, you know that you're out there doing it every single day. And you've been wrong about a million times because everybody, when they get to be, by the time they're 21 or 22, these guys are superstars. I'm not saying that DeAndre Hunter is going to be a superstar. He's not a great fantasy player for us right now, especially at this price. But just don't be surprised if he starts having these 35, 40 fantasy point games. And he is a really good real-life basketball player that I actually think is a guy who's going to be valuable for a while, and I'm tired of people slagging him off. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there about DeAndre Hunter. I just don't think I'm going to end up playing him tonight. And then, look, on Washington's side of this, I'm going to play Bradley Beal on FanDuel if he plays. I will play some Troy Brown on Draftkings and FanDuel if he doesn't. There is not a whole lot else that I'm sorry, some Jordan McRae, not Troy Brown. There's not a whole lot else that I'm especially interested in this game on Draftkings other than that. How about you?
Yeah, on second look, I changed my mind a little bit also. I'm gonna play Bradley Beal if he plays on both sides. I'm gonna probably I don't want to say only play him, but I am gonna look to put him in lineups with Trae Young. I think it is kind of a pure play, and I think that if they're not that highly owned, I think that it is a really, really good upside spot. God forbid this game goes to overtime and you don't have a Trae Young Bradley Beal 1v1, you're just basically just lost, I think. So I am gonna do some of that. The other thing I'm changing my mind on also is I am not going to play a Jordan McRae if Beal plays. I was thinking of doing that as kind of like a real contrarian type thing, but Jordan McRae has really benefited from just being the main option, having the ball in his hands a lot, and I just don't think that he's just gonna be. I don't think he's gonna get there with Beal playing. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. The only other guy I want to bring up as things kind of refreshed a little bit is Ian Mahinmi. I don't know if it's necessary, but he's looking to be pretty decent, and I'm just going to have to keep an eye on him. So he's literally the only other guy, though, on Washington that I would even take a look at. And I don't think I've ever played him. But
I understand why everybody's interested in Mahinmi tonight. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. He's 4,300, and he's going to play minutes. Right? He's going to play 25 minutes. Again, I'm looking. This is the first game.
Maybe he'll play 5 minutes. I don't know if he'll play.
It's not a big deal. So the way I'm looking at the slate is I'm looking. Okay, first thing I have is Trae Young and Bradley Beal. We have 8 other games to get to or whatever, and we're going to see if I can find anything better. So I just kind of threw Mahinmi out there as someone I'm going to look at a little more.
Sure. I think you're going to find that you're not going to want him by the end. But I do want to point out that if we don't have Bradley Beal, even though his minutes are basically the same no matter what, you're going to get 26 minutes out of Isaiah Thomas being one of the focal parts of the offense at 3.9 and 3.8. I almost didn't even realize the price because I wasn't really considering him. I think he's not only in play, like he's like almost a cash game play, like on FanDuel and DraftKings if no other monster value opens up. Like he's going to put up 20 fantasy points in this matchup. I really can't see how it would be hard with Bradley Beal out for me to see him not doing that. That's my personal take. Let's move over to New Orleans and at New York. It's another really good total, 226.5. It's hard. I'm interested in Ingram. I'm interested in Lonzo, but I'm not like in love with anything on DraftKings. I mean, Bobby Portis is probably going to be chalk for good reason on FanDuel with no Marcus Morris, it looks like, on the New York side, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where I want to go on the New Orleans side in this game. And I think it's just going to be a little bit of Ingram and a little bit of Ball for me at the moment.
For me, it's really just going to be Ingram. The other guys, again, are just kind of guys today. I'm with you. I don't believe that Josh Hart is going to be as highly owned as they're projecting him, but for good reason. I don't think he looks to be that great a play here. For me, it's going to be Ingram, and on the Knicks side, especially with Morris out. I mean, if you want, you could start looking to mess around again. I mean, R.J. Barrett at 5,200 looks to be, I guess, okay. I put him in there. I don't know how high owned any of these guys are going to be really. Portis is going to be insane chalk on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he looks to be, even though 6,400 looks pretty brutal, and I don't know if I can stomach it. He's projected to be just kind of okay, I guess. And then if you want to play around, I mean, you want to go back to crap like Reggie Bullock or Taj Gibson or something like that. I mean, you could try it, but I don't know. For me, it's either going to be maybe a flyer, not even flyer, but like kind of an R.J. Barrett in bad form type play, or just probably nobody on the Knicks.
Yeah, I don't mind taking a shot with the cheap junk here if no other value opens up. Obviously sounds gross, but like Kevin Knox, Reggie Bullock feels kind of gross. I like R.J. Barrett. I think he's struggled lately, but we know the upside is really there for him. It's a really good game environment. They've lost all their offensive weapons, basically, other than Bobby Portis. The only time we got to see him, though, was against Utah, so we didn't really get a fair shake of what he looks like without Morris and all these guys. So I like kind of like stacking this a little bit on the Knicks side with maybe a Barrett, and you could play a Bullock or a Knox. Probably a Bullock would be I don't know, actually. It's a tough one. And then you throw in the guy who's everyone's going to overlook, who had some ownership the other night, but totally let down. But again, it was a weird game and a blowout, and it was the toughest matchup in basketball, is Mitchell Robinson. No one's going to play this guy. And I'm going to make an argument that he's going to score more overall fantasy points tonight than Bobby Portis does. And on FanDuel, he's 5.4, so you can play him over there, but people are probably going to lean to Portis. On DraftKings over here at 5.8, I think he's interesting, man. I kind of like this spot. And I just feel like it's the kind of game where I could just see him smashing. So what I look at is, what are the odds that I think he can get a double-double in his minutes tonight? And is there upside on those 24 minutes? I think the answer to both is definitely yes. And I think you have an incredible shot-blocking, rebounding matchup against a team that plays fast and misses a lot of shots, to be frankly honest. I mean, somebody's going to have a big rebounding night. But I sort of like that little 2-3-man kind of a deal, because you know how I feel about attacking these. I mean, we have three of the best teams to attack in the first two games. But this is a really good spot. So I'm not saying I'm going to get overloaded with it, but maybe 10 to 15% of Robinson when he's going to be 2% owned, and maybe 20 to 30% of Barrett when he's probably going to be 10% owned. That might be a route that I look to taking. And I think it's a really good playing them together, and along with if you did feel like running it back with one of Ingram or Lonzo, but probably better spots on the overall slate, but definitely something I'm going to do with some of my life.
Well, if you're going to do that, I mean, again, I always have this kind of note. I don't actually have a note, but I always think about it, is if I'm going to stack a game, to always just not forget to consider the point guard. I mean, do you like Elf Payton at all here, as long as we're going to talk about this, maybe stacking this game?
I wouldn't play him with Barrett. So right. I'm siding with Barrett, but he's not – I don't feel – I feel I should be more interested to stay on brand than I really am. I'll probably have that little bit of exposure. The price isn't overwhelmingly exciting. He hasn't really had a game that you'd be happy with in a really long time at this price, but great matchup, narrative, whatever, narrative, sure, just not crazy about it.
Boy, like I said, the excitement just is, you just feel it. Just cut that excitement with a knife. I mean, you're just jumping out of the screen to play.
Well, it's one of those plays that I feel like, you know what, it's hard for me when it's plays that I feel like, oh, this guy could really go out there and get you 50 tonight. It's the kind of matchup where I could see that happening. And then you go, well, I don't really want to play him though. I thought about you. I don't want to play him.
That sounds good to me.
All right. Well, let's move over to a game that became a little bit more interesting, although not quite as interesting as it could have been. Miami and Brooklyn. What are we doing on the Miami side? So we lose Winslow. We thought we were going to lose Derrick Jones Jr. We get him back. Ideally, we would have lost them both, and it just makes this a great smash stack spot. You know what I mean? You can play everybody on there. You can play four guys on the Heat if you wanted to, if you could lose both those guys.
You know who you could play?
Well, the problem is now you're going back to basically what we just had 3 days ago, So the only good thing we've got is what can we look at who we got discounts on the players. So for me, the guys I'm going to play, and then you can throw in your guys. I'm going to play Dragic. I'm going to play Jimmy Butler. I'm going to play a ton of Bam. He's as of right now, Bam is one of my highest owned players. It's weird though, because it's like, I don't usually, I love Bam as a player. He's had some really tough matchups, and I just think he's just going to absolutely destroy tonight. I think you're looking at 50 plus from Bam. But I also like taking one of Nunn or Hero, or even Robinson. Like they all are pretty solid. I just haven't figured out which ones to lean towards yet. I think I'm mostly going to stick with the first guys I mentioned. Stick with Butler, Bam, and Dragic.
Well, again, depending on ownership, based on what I'm looking at right now, I'm going to be playing. Again, obviously the Dragic and the Nunn ownership is ridiculous because they haven't been updated because what's his name wasn't ruled out yet. But based on what I'm seeing, there are like three guys I'm going to be playing: Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler. You know, like, he's like, I mean, that 5% obviously isn't real, but if that is in fact the case, he's going to be played as an extreme priority. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. And then the next guy, again, I agree with you. I like Bam a lot. He's, projects to be really, really good. Because he's in a good matchup, that's why he's projected to be really good and be a close game, hopefully. So you have that extra minutes vig and stuff like that. I think he's fine. I've never had a lot of luck with these getting the Miami guys right. Actually, that's not true. I did have Dragic the other day when he smashed. So I wouldn't mind going back to him or Kendrick Nunn or Hero, all those types of guys. Always seems to just get off to these good starts in these games is Duncan Robinson, though. Like, every time you play, he ends up like hitting like 3 threes within the first like 6 minutes of the game, and it's like, whoa, what the hell happened? So again, if you do want to stack this game, he's kind of an interesting guy to always have in there.
He's so scoring dependent, actually.
Yeah, well, it's rough out there. You know what I mean? So let him score a lot.
Yeah, same thing was true with all these guys. So I mean, I'm with you. Like, they're all interesting. It's just I don't know how to prioritize them yet. I'm gonna have to look a little further into it. If I had to pick one right now, it would be none of the cheaper guys. But I really could see all of them, and I think that it'd be Nunn, then Hero, then Robinson for me personally.
Who do you like more between Trae Young, Beal, Ingram, and Butler?
Trae Young, Beal, Ingram, Butler. If Beal plays on FanDuel, I like Beal. On DraftKings, I like Butler. Okay. Oh, Butler, I like Bam. I like Bam. I didn't
say Bam. No, just these 4 guys.
I'm very close with Butler. Butler and Bam, I have very close in ownership now.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just like adjusting as we go on the fly. This is what I always do. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. That's why.
Because I see where I'm headed here. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to play these 8,500, you can't play like 4 of them. You know what I mean? Like, right. It's gonna be difficult unless extreme value opens up, which could always happen.
Right.
Which is another reason why, by the way, maybe Trae Young's ownership does stay within check, is because these other guys who look pretty freaking good at 8K, and you're gonna want to get a couple of these guys in if you don't want to spend all the way up.
Yeah.
On Brooklyn, by the way, we didn't really talk about that. The only 2 guys that I kind of have any interest in are going to be the guys I always have interest in. It's going to be Dinwiddie and Jared Allen, but I think this matchup's kind of rough. They project to be kind of good, okay. And again, I kind of like the, Spencer Dinwiddie getting the most out of his time before Kyrie comes back, whenever that is. But he's fine. I mean, he is priced down, right? And he's probably not going to be highly owned. So maybe Dinwiddie, boy, how can you play him with all these other guys? But Dinwiddie looks to be the best of the given alternatives. And between him and Allen, those would be the 2 guys I would play.
Yeah, I don't think like you're running like a horrible risk here. Like he's going to put up probably 30 fantasy points ish tonight. I mean, part of the problem is like I wanted to run some Miami guys, so it does make me want to run this back. But overall, you're right, not that exciting. I honestly, one of these days, Karis LeVert the minutes are going to be there. Sure. I'm on the Taurean Prince. I truly believe is a really good basketball player, Train. And
ooh, that's rough. That's a rough take.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
He's a very good basketball player. Like, they've got some pieces here. I mean, think about KD and Kyrie with this team. It's actually going to be much better than I think people think it is. All right. Anyway, Jared Allen for tonight. It's Jared Allen and Dinwiddie. Very soon we can start playing LeVert again, but I wish they would drop his price in the meantime so we could at least be tempted. But at 6.1, I don't know. I don't think the minutes are going to be there. We still have what we think is going to be a 24-minute restriction. There's no way for me.
Okay. Let's go to Indiana, Chicago. I don't know what's going to go happen with Brogdon. I am presuming that okay, so I'm going to presume for the purpose of this discussion that he's in for now. I do have a couple of takes. If he is in, I really don't like anybody from Indiana at all in this spot. The only reason I would play someone from Indiana is because I want to play Zach LaVine, for example. Like if I want to play Zach LaVine or other guys from Chicago, I might want to run it back with Indiana guys. And the Indiana guy I'd be interested in running it back with might be TJ Warren. So that would be my opinion. The other opinion I have is the if Brogdon is out thing. I was into this idea the other day, and I just kind of know what I see also, and I'm sure the stats back it up. I'm not a big Aaron Holiday fan. I mean, even when what's his name was out, he's really not a high usage guy. When he initiates the offense, he really just passes it and screens away or whatever. If he ends up being chalky again, if in fact Brogdon is out, I faded him a little bit last time, and I'm going to be there similarly. It's kind of my basketball opinion on him. On the Chicago side, let's go. Play LaVine again. Let's go. He's projected to be pretty good. He was priced down, obviously for good reason because they're playing Indiana. But sounds good to me. The other real interesting pieces of this game come to pass because Wendell Carter Jr. is out. So they could go a lot of ways as far as I'm concerned. If they have to deal with Sabonis and Miles Turner, it's possible that they start Gafford, you know what I mean, and play a lot of him. Again, I wouldn't put that past them. The other thing that they could do is just play a lot of minutes at Markkanen at the 5. I mean, that's possible also. So if you get him at 6,100 playing all those 5 minutes or whatever, he could be a good play. And then you want to project Thaddeus Young to continue to get good minutes. Little revenge maybe. I don't know. So I would go right back to this. I would go right back to LaVine, go right back to some Markkanen. I'd play a couple of guys, filter in some gambles on Kobe White. By the way, props to you. Okay, this was you weren't here yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to give you props for this. Extremely sharp call, which I took advantage of the other day, which is the theme of my life is you making sharp calls, which I take advantage of. Was Chris Dunn in that perfect spot for him a couple of days ago, because even though he's not usually that upside type guy, you made a great point that the team he was playing, I don't remember who it was prone to give up a lot of steals, and he was awesome. He was just awesome. I think he had like 8-9x, and he could have gotten more.
Yeah. I had him in my one big lineup that night. It wasn't enough for me, but
okay. To the point though, on this particular matchup, it's just not quite as juicy for him. You know what I mean? Right. So I would, I know it's a 10-game slate or however many games there is, but I'm perfectly willing to go right back to the well. I'll go with LaVine. I'll even put some Markkanen in there and screw around and run it back with some, maybe TJ Warren or something like that. And I'm into it.
Yeah, I don't mind having so I agree with most of what you said. The only thing I don't agree with is the Aaron Holiday take. Okay. I think Aaron Holiday is a really good basketball player, and he's still young, and you're going to see it as he continues to grow. He's been really, the truth is, he's been really good. He's just not putting up the million X. If he was 4 point, over on FanDuel, actually, you can consider him completely if there's no, if we have no Brogdon. If Brogdon plays, I think you play him on FanDuel. You don't necessarily play him on Draftkings. I do like the idea, TJ Warren, if you're going to play someone from the other side, but I'm not all that interested in this game. I think mostly it's going to be a little bit of LaVine and a little bit of Markkanen for me, and a little bit of Sato. I don't mind Sato at all at 5.8 here. I actually think the the guard matchup, it's funny, we'd think it would be better for Chicago, not for Indy, not Chicago, but it actually hasn't played out that way so far this year. So I don't mind taking a shot on Sato, but it's not I'm not excited by any of it. So mostly it's probably just going to end up being LaVine and Markkanen. And then we're going to move on to a game that I'm definitely interested in targeting.
And meanwhile, no one ever responded. By the way, was it 3 weeks ago? When I suggested if anybody wanted to give me a line at 1,000-1, Zach LaVine being the All-Star game MVP. No one ever got back to me on that one.
Oh, yeah. Give us a line on that one. I'm thinking it's possible.
Let's go.
I love that call. I think that's a really good call.
And I also had a really good take on who was going to win the slam dunk competition before they announced it. But the guy got taken to the locker room yesterday, so I don't know if they'll let him do it. But Anthony Simons was going to be my off the board slam dunk competition entrant and winner. But I think he got hurt a little bit last night. Anyway, what's next? Okay, so we're on the San Antonio Memphis. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, because you have a lot of interest in this game, and this is going to be a great game to discuss because this is the ultimate battle between, from what I'm looking at, is projections versus game script or whatever. So when I was looking at the total in this game, like, okay, this is beautiful. 230, close spread. Let's just freaking figure out a way to make this work. And then, unfortunately, when I look at the projections or whatever, I say the same thing that I've been saying the last 3 weeks. For whatever reason, Memphis just never projects well. Maybe it's because of the way they spread their minutes out or whatever it is, but everybody just projects like crap. And so the question is what do you do about it in a situation like this? Well, the one thing you do is you realize that, well, because they're not going to project that well, that means you're going to be low owned, which is great. So you just got to kind of get this right. So what you do, in my opinion, is if you're going to play this game, you pick the guys that, even though they project whatever, they're the upside type of player. The guys that could not just hit their median, but just freaking smash. So if you're going to do this, what I would do is on the Memphis side, I would play Valanciunas. I would play probably maybe a Jay Crowder, somebody like that. I don't know if I would do Morant. I don't know, but I think I would start with Valanciunas, maybe a Crowder, maybe a Brooks. You know what I mean? But what I would do is I wouldn't put that many of them together. I would just try to maybe do 1v1 or maybe 2 at the most. You know what I mean? I don't know how to what extent I could stack these guys. And then on the San Antonio side, if I was going to go after this game, I don't know how fancy I would be. I would play either DeRozan or LMA and just hope that this total is right and hope that they get there and smash. You know, you can sell me on this, but my first instinct was that I was not as excited about stacking this game or going after this game as I thought I was going to be. What do you think?
I have a lot of so I have LMA and Aldridge as guys who I want to prioritize tonight. I actually think you can play them together tonight at these prices in this matchup. I'm not sure how much of that I'll do because I like a lot of plays. It's a big slate, but I definitely think they're that at least one of them gets off big time tonight. I don't even mind DeJounte Murray. I think it's a really good matchup for him. Obviously, we never know exactly what the minutes are going to be, but 28 minutes in the last game. Maybe one of these days he'll push 30. And I love the matchup. So I'm sort of interested in him, but mostly it's just going to be those guys. I don't mind just a complete flyer on Lonnie Walker. But again, that's assuming there's no value at all that opens up. I think it's probably too thin on the giant slate. And we're probably going to get some value to open up. So on the Memphis side, it's a bunch of guys I have like a little bit of interest in, not that I want to go crazy with. I'm going to keep playing Jay Crowder. I've just been playing him like crazy, and he's been too good to me. I think that at 5.5, the good matchup, good pace, competitive game, both teams playing competitively right now. Jay Crowder could easily get his way into 40 fantasy points, and I think like 35 he gets there enough to where you can play him. I don't want to go crazy with these plays, but these are all guys like in the 15% range that I'm considering. Jonas I might go a little bit higher on and make a little bit of a stand. Centers have been beating up on this Spurs team, and I feel like Jonas could really, really thrive here. I prefer when a game where Jackson's out or something like that, but I still think that there's upside for him, and even in limited minutes. And again, we don't know what his minutes are going to end up actually being. And then I want to take a flyer on both Morant and Jackson, but again, not prioritizing so much more. It's just the big two from San Antonio that I'm prioritizing. But I do think you can make a stack with a Joe Val and Crowder with those two or something like that. It's a really good game environment. And then the wild card play for me would be Brandon Clark, but I just don't think it's the right slate. I do think that he's going to start having bigger and bigger games as the season goes on, but I just don't think that I'm going to get there on this slate. Both these teams are tough because they do play so many players, 20+ minutes. It's tricky because it's not a condensed rotation, and it's condensed in the fact that it's condensed to 10 guys. So it is a little bit trickier, but I do think that you can prioritize LMA, Aldridge, and then Joval as he's going to be unowned all the time. So when you play him, you're getting a potential upside of 60 at 2% pretty much all the time. So I love the idea of taking a shot on Joval. I pretty much never play him as chalk, but I would play him on a night like tonight. That's pretty much my interest in that game.
I think you're going to need value to open up to get a lot of the guys that I'm interested in. If not, that's when I'm just going to have to probably find the guys that correlate the best and or the lowest owned, because it's going to be very difficult to get multiple of these kind of like 7K to 8,500 guys to get there. I mean, to get into your lineups. And likewise, I mean, that's again why Trae Young might end up being overlooked a little bit, just because it becomes very difficult. I mean, because some of these plays look pretty good. It's very difficult to pay up, and that's why Giannis might end up being that's why he's projecting his only 10% ownership. It's very difficult to get up there, because you're giving up a lot of opportunity with some of these other guys. So it's going to be a tough one.
I agree completely.
It's going to be a tough one. All right, Charlotte at Utah is the next one I have.
Can we just do we even need to talk about this game?
Yeah, just a couple of things real quick. First thing I would say is that just for the point that on a night like this, where I would normally take a shot at Devontae Graham, I feel as though there are just better options around that 8K price range that just have a lot more confidence in, and I'm not giving up that much ownership. Like, for example, the difference between like a Zach LaVine at 7% as opposed to a Devontae Graham at 3% or whatever. I think that you have that much more confidence in someone like LaVine over Graham today, where I probably wouldn't go there. The other thing I would mention is that just because the Utah guys happen to be projecting pretty well, is that for whatever reason, I think Ingles is projected to be very, very chalky. And that's why, by the way, I ended up with that TJ Warren play, because when I was like comparing other guys to Ingles around the same price tag and what their projections were relative to ownership, I'm like, well, what makes Ingles so much better than TJ Warren? Like, for example, that's the reason why I was thinking about TJ Warren as my run back there. So that's the only thing. I mean, I will say that, I mean, just to be honest, like Gobert, Mitchell, and Ingles all project to be pretty good. So I would not exclude them from my player pool, and I honestly do think that they're all pretty good plays.
Yeah, I'll play a little bit of Ingles. I'm basically going to be under double-digit ownership on everybody in this game, so I don't really feel the need to talk about anything. I just don't have any real interest. I do want to thank Miles Bridges for putting up a nice game for me the other night.
I had him on FanDuel because of you. That was great.
Yeah, that was a nice one. This is just not the spot where I'm going to attack anybody from Charlotte. Hopefully it'll lower their prices and they can get a nice home game against, one of New Orleans, Washington or Atlanta soon enough. I'm ready to move on.
Okay, just want to make sure that, again, otherwise if I'm not satisfied with this, I'm going to start asking that we go from the late games back. So I just want to make sure that we don't, shortchange people on games.
I'm shortchanging people on certain games that I feel like should be shortchanged. That was one.
That's fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so
I won't on that.
We have Orlando Phoenix next.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually, you want to start? I'll start with this one because I have a couple of takes. First thing is that I am going to presume that Aaron Gordon plays.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say for him? Actually, it says
I think he's going to play too. Not sure. So, first of all, Vooch projects to be just a tremendous play. Oh, he's in. He's now.
He projects.
This is an old. I'm sorry. I'm looking at an old game.
Vooch projects to be awesome. He looks to be great.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just kind of say that kind of right off the bat. Great. All right. He projects to be fine. But for whatever reason, Terrence Ross was showing.
No, I love Terrence Ross tonight.
No, I know that, but he was projected to be one of the highest owned players on the slate. And I didn't quite. I guess the reason why is because there's so little other value out there that
no DJ Augustine.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not saying that he's not a good play, but he's like you said. I mean, he's very scoring dependent. No.
Yeah, no, he is.
So yeah. So my other take on the Orlando side, and this is kind of a matchup thing, is with Phoenix running lineups with both Ayton and Baines. Okay, with Ayton just insisting to want to be like Kevin Durant, be like a 4, whatever it is. I don't know how. I shouldn't say I don't know how. I am totally into Aaron Gordon this spot. I really think that this is just an atrocious matchup for Phoenix, and I think that he's projecting just kind of okay. And he's a guy I just really don't like to play at all. But if Phoenix is really going to insist on running those lineups with Ayton and Baines out there and leave Ayton, who just stinks defensively, like to guard like Aaron Gordon and forcing with Baines on Vooch. I think Gordon can just have a tremendous game here. So he would be kind of not that I need it because there's gonna be a lot of low-owned guys, to go after. But I think this could be kind of I guess semi-sneaky if it's even sneaky. And on Phoenix, boy, I'll tell you, it's so funny. So I was about to say I want to I don't care about the price. I'm going to play Booker, whatever it is. I don't care about the matchup. I'm going to play Booker. And then I said the same thing the other day when Washington, I love Jordan McRae. I thought he was a complete freaking lock when Beal was out. And you were even saying, I think I'm going to be fading Jordan McRae today. And I loved it. And when they played, they came off of just incredibly easy matchups. And then when they played Orlando, and it was just like the wind got taken out of them when they played against Orlando. So I got to have a little bit of respect for the Orlando matchup here and not just immediately just say I want to play Booker. I might anyway, but I'm not going to be just auto-playing him kind of like I have been. What I am going to be auto-doing is just not playing Ricky Rubio. I'm just not a fan. Let's just put it that way. He's not projecting to be that great, and if he's not projecting to be that great, and he's just not my profile. I guess that's pretty much all I had. I mean, Orlando, you want to talk to me about Markelle Fultz, guys like that. I'll leave the rest of this to you.
Yeah, so on the Orlando side, I like Fultz, Vucevic, and Ross. Not going crazy with any of them, but I like them. Oh, and I even like a little bit of Gordon. I kind of agree with you there. I hate that I like him, though. It just feels like stupid. He just doesn't ever do it. But we know it's in him and all that stuff. I think that it's weird with Booker because I actually have been agreeing with you, and I kind of agree that I wouldn't change a thing. This guy is going to be unowned and has put up 50 in 5 of his last 6 games. I don't even feel like any of those were obviously near ceiling games. He's 8,400. What exactly are we thinking about here? What is the big concern overall that Orlando's somehow Fournier is such a stiff defender and they're going to take up too much time off the clock? If the game's competitive, Devin Booker is going to probably be right around 50 again. He's taken over completely. It's not like he's shooting lights out or anything. He's not even shooting threes hardly. He's just taking over games. So let's keep playing Devin Booker. The assist numbers are terrific. Look, 10, 7, 7, 7, 6, 7. That's awesome. That's why Rubio's numbers are down a little bit. I really think that you're going to see a night you're going to see pretty much one of Rubio or Booker not smash, but put up 45 fantasy points every night. One of those two. So I think it's going to be Booker almost most of the time. So I like Booker quite a bit. I think you're getting too low ownership on some of these other guys. Even the Ayton side, I don't think I'd go there, but I probably will have 5 to 10% of them. He's going to be 1% owned. He's a walking double-double. I'm not going to avoid him forever. I don't know. It's a weird thing. I don't love the Phoenix side as much, but I do think that there probably will be one player from Orlando on a good portion of my teams, and I think I'm going to run it back with Booker in most cases because I really like Devin Booker tonight.
I'll tell you, man, this is so hard. There's so many good plays. It's going to be very, very difficult to get it right. But you know what? The good thing is that you're going to get points out of your guys. You know what I mean? Like if you play any of these guys, just the guys that are right here in this kind of shelf between Levine, Beal, Butler, Booker, you know what I mean? They're going to score, and the question is, are they going to score more than the other guys?
Booker as an argument, and obviously we're both Levine guys. But like, think about that as an argument because they're basically the same price. They actually are the 100 off. And I know Levine has a higher projection, and he's been great lately. But he's been great, and he just put up 52 of his last 20 games, whereas Booker has been 5 out of 6, and the one he didn't get there was 45. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it can actually, it's weird. Like, let's not overdo the matchup. And by the way, it's not like Levine has a great matchup, you know?
Oh, Levine's matchup stinks.
Yeah, so why wouldn't we play Booker over Levine at lower owned?
Because I don't know.
Why
I can't.
is Booker lower owned?
I'm having difficulty. I'm having difficulty separating all these guys. Honestly.
No, but think about why. Like, what is the reason for it, other than a weird projection system that we don't really have anything to base anything on? Like, I don't know.
Right.
When I look at it like that, it's hard for me not to say I would prefer Booker over Levine, even though I'm fine with Levine. I might even play both of them a lot. But I'm really starting to think more and more that we got to just take these things when they start happening, because even if it ends at some point, let's catch on to it while it keeps happening. If Booker keeps putting up 50 fantasy points and we don't play him and we're onto the trend and no one else for some reason seems to be, then I think we're making a mistake.
Well, what about if Beal plays? I mean, you put Booker over Beal. Forget FanDuel for a second. What about on DraftKings?
Probably I'd have Booker over Beal.
Okay.
I mean, we don't just. I like Beal still, but I think I would prefer Booker over Beal. And again, part of it has to do with I like some of these Orlando spots. I like Vucevic. I like Fultz a lot. I like Terrence Ross. So it gives you a natural little run back, which obviously gives me a little bit of an extra love. But mostly it's just I just can't help but resist what he's doing. People say, "Oh, game log watchers." First of all, if you're not a game log watcher and you play DFS, you're a freaking idiot. Like, you have no business playing DFS if you don't look at the game logs. That's the dumbest term I've ever heard. But it's not just game log. I mean, it is just, even if it is just game log watching, if it happens every game, who cares? If the guy's taking 20-plus shots every single game. He hasn't shot less than 19 times in a month. Let's just keep playing him. I've sold myself on him now. I'm going to just load up Booker. I don't care the matchup.
Again, like I said, it's a good play on a slate with a lot of good plays.
They have let him take over again in Phoenix. It is not hard to see. You can tell by his assist numbers. The beginning of the year, they were figuring out with Rubio. Now look, his numbers went from in the last bunch of games. I mean, actually, for the truth is all year his assist numbers have been good. But he went through that weird rough patch of games. That was all when Rubio went off. That's just the way they play. One of these guys is going to go nuts. And it's going to be Booker.
Sounds good. All right, so that's all great. Let's get all these guys in. So let's go to the Laker game where you have Luka and maybe a LeBron without AD. So great. Let's see how many 8K guys we can get in. All right. So on the Lakers side, is he? Was Davis announced out or something like that?
Which is not unless something happened in the last 30 seconds.
No, I say that only because it's one of the projection systems I looked at just updated with him, just presuming him out. Now they're not announcing him out or anything like that, but I guess just to see what it looks like if he were out. So let me I can do it both ways with this team pretty easily. So if Davis plays, they're both going to project to be really, really good plays, him and LeBron. And as usual, I will just ask you which one you prefer. And I think I know where I'm headed here, and I just don't think with all these other options at 8K that I'm going to be able to do it. I don't think I'm going to be able to spend $11,000 on anybody. I just think it's going to cost me too much in terms of giving up that second or third 8K guy, unless there's some incredible value that shows up that I might.
All of my things are built into having that incredible value happen on a 10-game slate, because usually it happens.
Okay.
And I don't want to end up forcing guys in, but I just want to say, I think whether AD plays tonight or not, LeBron's a fantastic play. Would be my preferred play in this game. I don't think that he's a guy you want to lock in by any means, but if you want a really comfortable guy who's going to get you around 60, I also do believe that with all the talk about Luka and everything and it being in Dallas, and I just feel like this is a spot where I could see LeBron trying to take a game over, especially if AD's out, obviously, but then his ownership's going to skyrocket. And I don't think that Luka is even close to in play tonight. Like, I know he might end up on a roster or two of mine just because I sort of can't help myself with him. Like, it's actually like a problem. Like, I just love him too much. And it's obviously it's going to be one of those, okay, a $20 lineup that I want to watch the game so I have an excuse and hopefully I can, win the whole tournament. But Luka, there's only one play in Dallas in this game, and it's not even on DraftKings. It's on FanDuel. And that play is the same brilliant play that I made the other night. I'm sorry, I give myself a little credit on that one. Locking in Maxi Kleber the other night. It wasn't like he was amazing, but compared to another guy like Michael Porter Jr., he was amazing. He put up 27 fantasy points again. If you look at it, now we got 4 out of the last 5 games for Maxi Kleber at 27, 31, 37, 36. That's all without Porzingis. So you're getting, and the minutes are usually there. Against Denver, I thought he might have a few more minutes. He only played 24, but I think he was actually in foul trouble too. So yeah, he's coming off the bench. No one ever plays him. At 4.5 on FanDuel, you want to get some Maxi Kleber. You don't want to play him on DraftKings. Don't get me crazy. Like, that would be a stupid thing to do. But at 4.5, you're getting like a guy that cheap who's going to be completely unowned and probably going to put up 30 fantasy points for you. Forget the projections on him. They're just completely wrong. And that's all I can tell you. Also, you need to play with size against these Laker team. As bad as it, even by the way, if we don't have Davis, they still play with size. But if Davis plays, like, you have Davis and Howard or McGee on the court, and who do you have for big guys for Dallas? You have Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber, and the next biggest guy on their team is Luka. So of course these guys might have to play 30+ minutes tonight. This is the spot where I want to see that happen. I want to see Maxi go completely off. And again, we'll get into it on FanDuel, but I just want to point out how elite of a play I think he is for GPPs on FanDuel.
If I told you that DeLon Wright was going to be 25% owned, would you believe me on DraftKings?
No.
Okay.
Why? Where is that coming from?
I don't know. I'm just asking. All I'm doing is asking.
No, I know. That's just sort of my nature. Where are these projections coming from? We have a guy who scored 30 fantasy points like once this year, and he's got him projected like 1 million.
I understand. I mean,
the minutes and the usage look fine. I get it.
Yeah,
but
and I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, these Dallas guards are just. I mean, you talk about good chalk versus bad chalk. Like, it wasn't too long ago that Jalen Brunson went off like 30% owned, not even starting, and he ended up like 11 fantasy points or something like that. And he might have even had a did not play coach decision that game. It was something weird. So I'm just, again, that's what happens on a slate where you kind of, well, you tell me, but based on your experience, on a slate where you kind of need value, sometimes it just kind of gets forced in when it's just not there,
Yeah.
So that's when I ask you, if you would surprise you, some of these guys become much higher owned than maybe they should be. It's because I think sometimes people just kind of have to try to force it in. And maybe that's a mistake.
I'll tell you what, it says a lot about Luka that you have a team, you're facing the best team in the NBA, supposedly or arguably. And you're a 2.5 point favorite. I know you're at home, but you're also missing your second best player. Not only that, you're missing a second best player that takes up literally all the usage that you don't take up, and you're still favored by 2.5. So either that means they think AD is out, or there's a lot of, and rightfully so. I think Dallas is going to it's going to be a good game. But it's interesting that that's how good Dallas has become. I think Luka's actually making a strong MVP run right now, but I'm not going to play him tonight.
If AD is out, I presume that we're playing JaVale McGee.
Yeah, I think that you want to look at both bigs. Howard is too expensive. JaVale's price makes more sense, but I don't think it's like a lock. I think if AD's out, the savvy play would be to play Rondo.
Okay.
Actually, that could be incredibly savvy. That would be – the problem is, do enough people speculate and make him have high ownership? Because you have a national TV game, and he's been terrible, but he's so cheap, and he would get the usage that AD could sum up off, when LeBron comes out of the game, he would be the guy that could run the offense through a little bit. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. This
is what's going to happen, I think, on tonight's slate. What's going to happen is that there are going to be guys that, like I just mentioned, you take a guy like DeLon Wright, there's just going to be guys that people flock to that end up just way overowned. And there's just so many plays on this slate that instead of it spreading out, I mean, I think it'll be spread out to some extent, but people then start to just gravitate to certain plays. And I think that anybody that's, it's kind of hard to put it this way, but I think that anybody that's really high owned is probably over owned. Let's put it that way. I just don't think that any of these guys look to be that great as far as value goes. So you could go, like, if McGee becomes real chalky, you can, you don't have to play him. I think if any of these guys end up being really chalky, you don't have to just make up your narrative and make up your reasoning why that's the best play. But you take a guy like Rondo, for example, who's going to be 0%, I imagine. See, that could be something you could do, I suppose.
Well, he won't be 0% if AD gets announced out.
Okay.
People are clever. They'll start picking up on, maybe, he could get this and that. And, he played in Dallas and he's getting, I don't know. He's been bad, but he still put up like 26 fantasy points in the last game with AD in there. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sort of worried. I actually am thinking AD might not play just because of how bad he looked. And I don't even know if he plays that I would want to play him just because of watching him walk. I wish I didn't watch him walk because he looks like he can't move right now.
Just so we don't forget to do this, but if LeBron, if AD is out, I think that probably the chalkiest guy, maybe
Kuzma?
Maybe on the slate could be Kuzma. Yeah.
At 5.3?
No, on FanDuel.
Oh, on FanDuel.
Yeah, he's like 42 or something on FanDuel. I think
there's a lot of good prices on FanDuel, but I have Kuz on my list. I have Rondo who's 3.7 on my list also.
Yeah. All right. We'll watch for AD, I suppose, in that one.
Yep.
Now, is that one you do something ridiculous like play Rondo on FanDuel or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think you need to because there's two awesome point guard plays on FanDuel.
Okay. All right. So Milwaukee. Okay. So here's Milwaukee. Sacramento could end up being fun. I hope it isn't. So on the Milwaukee side of Milwaukee Sacramento, I do like Giannis. I think he's a really, really good play, and I'd love to find a way to play him. Let's put it that way. If I could fit him into lineups, I'll try to do it. I will try to find some way to play a Milwaukee Sacramento stack, just in case. So Giannis looks like a good play. Now you look on the Sacramento side, this center position has become kind of interesting. So Holmes is, I guess, out again, and they announced that Bagley's I think that he's gonna play, but I don't know to what extent, and I'm not gonna play him at even 24, 25 minutes, but what else ends up happening in this game? You know what I mean? Like, does Dedmon get 25 minutes at the 5? I don't know.
And Dedmon literally just destroyed everybody's hopes for Giles on Chalk Giles night. There's no way I'm playing. It doesn't matter for me. Like, I'm just not playing those guys. Maybe I'll take a shot with Giles in a lineup or two or something. It's just
you want to play. Well, we'll get to FanDuel.
I just have zero. Like, it just feels like such.
I got you. So if you don't want to get fancy, I'll say you could play De'Aaron Fox and or Buddy Hield on the Sacramento side, and play a couple of lineups with Giannis with Hield and Giannis with Fox. And you could try to sell me on Bjelic at 6K. I don't think you're gonna be able to do it. But that's really all I had from this.
Yeah, I'm going to be heavy on Buddy Hield tonight. I'm thinking the ownership will be pretty much there too. You have a guy who can, you got these wings. It's the same thing it's always been against Milwaukee. It's these active wings that shoot the ball. Like, love to shoot the ball. Now, Hield is one of them, but he can really shoot the ball. So he should be getting plenty of good looks in this matchup. I just absolutely love him here. He's my preferred target on Sacramento's side. I like Fox just behind him. I think they're both really good plays. I think you could play them together if you're playing a Giannis lineup. I really like Giannis. I think Giannis is a guy who you want to be ahead of the field on. Like, between him and LeBron, I actually have him only slightly ahead of LeBron, which the projections have him pretty far ahead of LeBron. But I also think that we don't know about the AD situation. So if AD is out and we get that news early enough, LeBron's ownership, especially if there's value that opens up, is going to go through the roof. That's when maybe you want to play a Giannis, or if there's tons out there, you want to play both of them, because just that's not what people are going to be doing from a game theory perspective. And I like this situation a ton for Giannis. And by the way, with Giannis, no real risk here. really no real risk. What are they going to? They're going to smoke Sacramento in Sacramento. It's possible. I guess that's the risk. But even then, he probably puts up 55. Like, so his downside is not even a downside. Like, I don't really feel bad about anything with Giannis tonight. The only issue is, do we have enough value and about our builds, like we talked about? There's a lot of players we like.
Well, look. Well, so if you put in Fox, Hield, and Giannis, just for the hell of it,
yeah,
you got only 4,900 left per guy.
Yeah, but you can get there. Let me see. Let me just.
You could get there. I mean, you could. Okay, so we these are the guys we talked about, right? You could play Ross, right?
Right.
And
you can play any chalk, because I think that combination might be the only combination that game but it's not going to be so popular. So you could play Ross. You could actually fit an RJ Barrett in that lineup if you want some guy with upside who's at a reasonably cheap price.
You could go none if you want.
Yeah, none or Hero or Robinson, one of the three. Reggie Bullock, 28 minutes against New Orleans is still 28 minutes against New Orleans. You don't need to necessarily go that cheap. You could mix in maybe a Jared Allen, or I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could go for some mid tier guys. You could throw in your DeLon Wright, even though I'm not as crazy high on him. Isaiah Thomas, if Beal is in fact out, at 3.9. Stuff like that. You know what I mean? I guess that's sort of where you're looking. Rajon Rondo, if we have no Davis, we still have a lot of information we don't know, but hopefully we're giving you enough, pivots. Markelle Fultz and Kevin Huerter as good exposures to good environments that are on the not cheap but mid-range side.
What becomes useful, and we talk about this a lot, is being able to play Hield as a forward. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the guys that you mentioned, those value guys are guards. So if you did want to play Hield and stuff like that, it's always very useful to have him as a small forward.
Yeah, and then the issue gets to be though, like, unless we get crazy value, doesn't necessarily line up with a Booker, Bam,
right.
Butler kind of thing sound great with Hield.
Yeah,
something like that sounds terrific to me, because I feel like there could be 200 points from those five guys. And you're spending 7,600 on each of them. So yeah, you're going to have to spend 5K-ish or 40, whatever, 100. But if you can get 200 from those guys, we can get five guys who are going to get us another 150. That's just my.
Yeah, it's good. You know what? This is going to be a perfect example of roster construction over plays. You know what I mean? And you know what? You can't see the angle, right? So. On my board, to the left of the screen or whatever is kind of like the stocks that are kind of in my fund, right? Mm-hmm. And I say this for a reason. There was once a guy who offered me a good amount of money just to come in and just to see my board and see like who I liked, my stocks, and I said it's not even going to matter, okay? Because it's not just what plays you like; it's how they work together and how you work around them and how you portfolio manage. So it's not just as simple as me being able to tell you Zach LaVine's a good play, Devin Booker's a good play. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's a good play. And yeah, it's good to have the good plays, but especially on a day like this, I mean, being able to construct lineups in an intelligent way is going to be really important. And I think that this is one of those days where optimizer play might end up being suboptimal. You know what I mean? I think that if you run optimals today, you're going to find a lot of guys in your – this is what happened to me when I first started playing, is I would run the optimals. I would see this guy that I just know stinks, like in my lineup. But then I'm like, you know what? There's got to be a reason why he makes this lineup work. And I would play the lineup, and he would get 8 fantasy points or something like that. I'm like, God damn it. You know what I mean? So I think on a day like this, it could be, you might have an advantage hand building and just having – a little more common sense about what kind of guys to put in than just letting the optimizer force in these kind of what could be some fishy value.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And as much as I want to play some of these top level guys, I think that they're reasonable. We have a lot of other guys to choose from in this mid tier, and I think that's where the builds are sort of leading me. I'm gonna get into who I at the moment have the most owned shortly, but why don't we get into your final thoughts before I do that?
See, this is what's awesome. Like, you have such little interest in the Golden State Clipper game that we were already wrapping it up. That I love it. Okay, but and fortunately, in this particular case, I'm in agreement with you. It's a tough spot for Golden State to keep the game close. D'Angelo Russell is probably going to play. he projects to be kind of, I guess, the best of some alternatives. You could always play Draymond Green for some upside. Kind of a tough matchup, as you might imagine. And just in fairness, Kawhi Leonard right now, based on what I'm looking at, projects to be one of the best plays on the slate. Now, it's going to be tough to get it. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough to get that ceiling that you need in this game. And we already talked about how hard it is to get $9,900 guys in there, coupled with the fact I just don't like playing him. So, just fair warning. Like if I was about to say something stupid, like if you have 9,900 left over and you need to put someone in, put Kawhi Leonard in. Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Eric. When am I going to have 9,900 left over, especially today? Probably never. But I don't like anybody else on the Clippers tonight, and I'm probably going to stay away from this game. But again, if I had to play somebody, it would be Kawhi on the Clippers side, and probably Draymond from the other side.
Yeah, I think Draymond makes some sense. I think that Kawhi, just to be honest, is like I couldn't do it tonight.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I don't know. If there was anybody from their side I'm sort of looking at a little bit, it would be from the Clippers side. It would be Shamet, Beverly,
okay,
or Harold.
Or would you take a? Well, okay. So if what's his name is out, I'll throw this one in. All right. Again, this will be one of my last off the board wild thoughts. If AD is out, okay, and your lineups stink at 9:30 after all these first games, and JaVale McGee is going to be chalk, you could go play Zubac at 4,200 to pivot off of JaVale McGee. That would be my one little thing about this game.
Yeah, it's kind of a good point, actually. If everything, it makes a lot of sense, actually. I also think that Willie Cauley-Stein, you could make a similar argument. I actually think he's probably the better play than Zubac. And he's 4.4, but pretty much the same thing. So if you have 44, if you have an extra 100 with your JaVale, and then everybody on the Warriors, like, just not really for me. I get the Russ. I think Draymond makes sense, like, just as a flyer. I'm not as crazy about D'Angelo Russell. Like, I just read an article, and I cannot believe I actually read it, talking about how good of a trade it would be for Philly if they traded him straight up for Ben Simmons. And I just think people think D'Angelo Russell is much better than he actually is. He's not that. He's nothing. He's a top 75 NBA player. Ben Simmons is top 25, so it's a very different level. But anyway, so I'm pretty much done with. I don't really have a lot of interest in that game.
So my thoughts, and going through this, I'm even more convinced of this than I was before. And we say this a lot, okay? That I don't think ownership's going to be that big of a deal on this slate. I don't think that you have to worry too much about whoever you play being too chalky. So what I will do is I will temper that with this comment. Don't worry about your good plays as far as their ownership goes, but I would definitely worry about fishy value and their ownership. You know what I mean? Like, I would almost rather, that's the way I can describe it. That I guess I can't expand on that a little more. I would not go for, like, if it turns out a DeLon Wright would be an incredibly chalky play. I would worry about that chalk more than worrying about whether, I don't know, Giannis or Trae Young or guys like that would be chalk, because there's so many options on this slate that you really are not going to find a lot of chalk, if you want to know the truth, among the good plays. So I would make my good plays. Don't worry about the ownership there too much, because I don't think you're going to get any of these guys at incredibly high ownership. But I would worry about letting optimizers jam in kind of value that you don't feel comfortable with, just because the optimal kind of puts it out there, especially if everybody's doing that, which is going to lead to kind of fishy chalk, I think.
I totally agree. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to just real quickly go through in no order, just the guys who I have in different tiers. I've got Booker and Butler right now at the top of my list, pretty much, which is great, because I don't think you're going to see an absurd amount of ownership for Booker. You definitely won't see an absurd amount for Booker. I don't think it'll be absurd for Butler either, to be honest. I think it's going to be solid. He'll have some ownership, but it won't be crazy. Then I have Healed, followed by DeRozan, the DeRozan, Bam, Giannis, Aldridge tier, along with RJ Barrett, who I'm still putting in as a I actually think RJ Barrett I may make a little bit of a stand on today. I just feel like this environment's so good there. And maybe you're right. Maybe I need to get a little Elf Payton. But I feel like somebody has a really big game in that spot for the Knicks with all the guys they have out. Somebody has to. They played Utah in their only game, so it wasn't, and they got blown out, so it's hard to really measure, other than Portis, who was going to get the usage. And I just think we got to take shots on these different Knicks today. They're your Knicks, so if you come up with anything, let me know. But that's sort of
I have come up with something. I came up with the fact that Elf Payton he's more expensive than Aaron Gordon, so I'm not doing
it. There you go. Well, the truth is though, based on what he shows, at least he gets to 40 sometimes. Aaron Gordon, geez,
that's true.
Right in that 30 range all the time. No, I'm just kidding. He'll get there someday. And then I think
someday he'll get there.
Like Rondo and LeBron. I also like Vooch, but his price is getting up there. And then we'll do a FanDuel show because I'm actually finding myself much more drawn to FanDuel today. Could be because I have friends in town visiting and I don't want to have as much action on DK. But I do feel like I like some of where these things are leading me on FanDuel. So I'm looking forward to getting into that.
You know what? I hate to do this because but if I didn't do it, I would just come back later and do another video with it. I don't want to just dismiss the Payton thing, because the reason I asked you about him was because you were coming up with the idea of maybe playing multiple guys in this game. And I do think that it's important. I don't know, I could be wrong about this, but to try to find a way to play a point guard if you're going to play multiple guys from the game, just because he just has the ball in his hands more often than everybody else. So just because Gordon is cheaper than Payton, that shouldn't be a reason why to not play Payton, especially if the reason why you might want to play Payton is to have multiple guys in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is that, that some of the thing that's disturbing about the Barrett part is he was initiating the offense early in the season. Now he's not. I still feel like the matchup's good enough to where I would take that shot, but maybe it is more of a Payton. I'm starting to feel more a little bit on the Payton train. Anyway, guys, hope this was helpful. Let us know. Give us any thoughts, good or bad, on Twitter. Give us the like and the thumbs up and subscribe anyway, because you're getting content for free, like it or not. And hey, I think we're pretty fun and interesting guys at the very least. And I think we've got some really good takes, and we've had an incredible, we had a great run since we've been doing this. So let's get back on the right track. We're going to send the FanDuel video out to you soon. Sheets, one final thought, a guy who might break the slate or something like that. Maybe a game.
I'm kind of with you on, I think it's going to be either Booker or Zach LaVine. I just always think that. But I think maybe on this slate, maybe 50 or 60 out of those guys might not be enough. But you know what? I'm gonna tell you my last take on this. My last take is, what was that? Occam's razor, whatever it is. That usually the simplest explanation is usually the right one. Maybe just go right back to the beginning and just go Trae Young, Bradley Beal, enough of the rest of the crap. That'll be my final take. How about that?
I love it. All right, then you're already sitting good because you have 260 points between the two of them going into the rest of the slate.
Sounds good to me.
All right, guys, take it easy. For Sheets, I'm Bobby. We will talk to you shortly.